Since 2021, UrbanShift has supported 23 cities across Asia, Africa, and Latin America to accelerate integrated approaches to some of the most pressing challenges facing our cities, from climate risks like flooding and extreme heat to biodiversity loss to gender and social inequity. In these 5 years, we've reached over 7,500 urban planners and leaders across the world. We've delivered 3 regional forums, 9 city academies, 9 geospatial data labs, and 9 peer-to-peer exchanges. We've shifted the global conversation on the role of urban nature-based solutions and the need to broaden cities' access to transformative climate finance. We've built a community of practitioners who are committed to shifting their cities toward greater equity and resilience from the ground up.
Desde o princípio do projeto City Nova, que já iniciou há alguns anos na qualificação do projeto, a gente está com o UrbanShift nos acompanhando. Inclusive, uma das questões importantes ali que a gente vai ter é a formação de um distrito de baixa emissão, que é na região metropolitana, que fica na região continental de Florianópolis. Então, o UrbanShift tem nos apoiado para desenvolver esse projeto da melhor forma e que tente atender melhor as questões de sustentabilidade.
At NIUA, under the UrbanShift Country project and with a global platform, we realized that our partner cities, that is Pune, Surat and Puducherry, have learnt a lot. The exposure has really helped not only them but also the project governing structures that we have set up in these cities. I'm sure that the cities will always remember all these experiences, opportunities and these events that have been created under this platform.
UrbanShift has been very helpful not just to me but to many of my colleagues, those who participated from central government as well as local government, colleagues from the Environmental Protection Agency, the Ministry of Lands. I'm sure we've had over 60 participants in total across the 3 city academies. It's a start and we'll build on it, but we've acquired a lot of knowledge. We hope that this will continue.
O UrbanShift ele nos traz essa ideia de que não só nós vamos estar trabalhando com projetos específicos de sustentabilidade identificados pela cidade, mas que isso significa uma mudança orgânica na sociedade, ou seja, é a cidade sendo contaminada por estas pequenas iniciativas e se transformando, se transfigurando.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me well. My name is Sharon Hill. I lead the work on cities and regions at the UN Environment Program. Very happy to have all of you here. A couple of housekeeping rules before we start the webinar. Most of the proceedings will be in English, but there will be a section in Portuguese. We have simultaneous interpretation in English, Portuguese, and Spanish. Please click on the interpretation icon at the bottom of your screen to listen to the event in your preferred language. Next slide, please. If you have any questions about the presentations during the webinar, feel free to enter them into the Q&A box. We will respond to the questions throughout the webinar. So we have colleagues that will be responding to your questions. So I am very pleased to welcome you here on behalf of my colleagues at the UN Environment Program, both as the implementing lead of the UrbanShift program, and more importantly, UNEP as the organization that sets the global environmental agenda. Just over the past 2 weeks, cities, regions, and countries came together at the UN Environment Assembly in Nairobi, Kenya, to advance solutions for a resilient planet. I've had the privilege of being part of UrbanShift since the very beginning. Today, I am pleased here to celebrate the 5 years of achievement of the program and thank the Global Environment Facility for the opportunity to develop this deep and important partnership with cities and key actors across the urban climate action landscape. With that, let me hand over to my colleague, Ruth Zugman Ducuto, Deputy Director of our Climate Change Division, for the welcome and introductory remarks. Ruth, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great pleasure for me to open this webinar and to celebrate the remarkable work of UrbanShift and what we have achieved with our partners over the last 5 years. I'm also was there since the beginning, and therefore I feel honored to be part of this family. 5 years ago, when UrbanShift was launched, the idea of cities as engines of climate ambition was still emerging. Today, that vision has become reality. Working closely with the Global Environment Facility, UNEP has been proud to steer the GEF7 Sustainable Cities Impact Program and collaborate with our core partners, the World Resource Institute, WRI, C40 Cities, and ICLEI. Together with countries, implementing agencies, and local partners, we supported, as you have seen in the video, more than 23 cities across 9 countries only in GEF7, and much more if we do include the GEF6 and GEF8 cities. We help them to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to extreme climate impacts. We worked hand in hand with local and regional governments to deliver integrated urban planning and nature-based solutions, transitioning from gray to green urban landscape and unlocking resilience for all. Over the last 5 years, the program has mobilized $161 million in GEF grant funding and $1.93 billion in co-financing across these 9 countries and 23 cities. This approach proves that integrated planning works and delivers multiple benefits. For example, technical support and peer learning helped restore Chennai's Kadapakam Lake, reducing flood risk, enhancing biodiversity, and creating inclusive public spaces. In Casablanca, in Morocco, UrbanShift facilitated planning for circular economy strategies, including waste valorization and resource-efficient construction. And in Kigali, 5 wetlands were restored in Rwanda to reduce flood risk, improve water quality, and create green jobs, thanks to UrbanShift funding and geospatial labs. Through the city academies, UrbanShift trained, as we also have seen in the video, over 7,500 practitioners, and we launched 8 online courses on topics such as accessing urban climate finance and circular economy for cities. Some courses attracted more than 900 learners, and today our resource library hosts 95 tools and guides. This is a true testimony of what a knowledge platform should be and look like. By leading UrbanShift's advocacy efforts, UNEP worked with the key partners to strengthen multi-level governance, a cornerstone of the GEF7 Sustainable Cities program. Rwanda, for instance, is a great example where the national/local dialogue aligned urban priorities with national strategies and integrated resilience into the national urbanization policy. And with gender inclusion, UrbanShift strengthened on-the-ground impact, as seen in Florianópolis, Brazil, where care-centered planning integrated women's perspectives into district-level plans, and we'll hear more from Cibele later on today. UrbanShift has proven that local action works. It creates jobs, restores ecosystems, and drives social change. It has also demonstrated the power of collective action. With UNEP and the 3 city-focused organizations, WRI, ICLEI, and C40, we have been working together to really elevate local and regional governments' capacity for climate ambition. The project, it's a project, ends at a moment when cities are increasingly recognized in the global climate processes and scientific arena, as highlighted by the CHAM, the Coalition for High Ambition Multi-Level Partnerships, at the COP processes, and the 2027 to be launched IPCC Special Report on Cities. Next year, we'll see three COPs, the triple COPs year, on climate, biodiversity, and desertification, offering a turning point for urban transformation. Let us remind ourselves, cities account for 70% of global greenhouse gas emissions and will bear the burden of the majority of climate impact vulnerability, heat, flooding, air pollution, not to mention others. Yet cities only control a fraction of the financial and policy levers needed to act. Direct finance access remains a barrier to more action. Just 10 days ago, as Sharon was saying, at the UNEA in Nairobi Cities and Regions Summit, we showcased scalable, cross-sectoral solutions, and we held in-depth discussions on integrated local action. UNEP will continue advocacy on multi-level governance and scalable solutions through the Urban Nature Program under GEF 8, the Coalition for High Ambition Multi-Level Partnerships, CHAMPS, the Urban SDG Finance Commission, and technical assistance via Shift Cities and Region, as the world races to keep 1.5 degrees target within reach, which is very difficult. The role of cities is more critical than ever. UrbanShift has shown what is possible when ambition meets state-of-art support. Let us hope that GEF 9 can replicate this wonderful program that brings together the best city network organizations and UNEP in a truly cooperative manner that really builds on each of our comparative advantages and serves cities in their quest to climate and nature ambition. Today's webinar brings this story to life with examples from our latest annual report and insights from our partners, WRI, C40, and INCLAY, and of course, colleagues in Florianópolis, Brazil, as well as the World Bank, leading GEF 8 cities program, and the GEF, and let's see what GEF 8 holds. Once again, we thank all our partners and colleagues for your contribution, past, present, and future, and look forward to a rich and inspiring discussion today. With this, I'm delighted to hand the floor over to Sharon, our moderator, and really look forward to this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth, for framing the importance of UrbanShift's work so clearly. Our partnership with our core partners here, the World Resources Institute, C40 Cities, ICLE Local Governments for Sustainability, and the GEF, have been central to advancing advocacy, stakeholder engagement, multi-level collaboration, capacity building, and urban climate finance. I am now pleased to invite Rohe Vandenberg, Global Director of the WRI Ross Center for Sustainable Cities, to launch UrbanShift's final annual report for 2004-2005, highlighting both this year's milestones and the cumulative impact of the program over the past 5 years. Over to you, Rohe.
Thank you, Sharon, and thank you, Ruth, for a great introduction. And I have to kind of wrap up 5 years in 10 minutes. It's not going to happen, right? So I'll stick to the highlights. And first of all, I have the pleasure and the honor to launch the UrbanShift Annual Report 2024-2025, which every year is, of course, our flagship report. It shows not only what we have done, but also shows the impact of actually UrbanShift on the ground. So I really want to invite everybody who is here listening and maybe later watching the webinar online, really have a look at it, because it's not a boring report. It's a great report, great stories, great leadership stories, and great impact stories. And it's not only an annual report, as you said, Sharon, it's really looking back at 5 years of impact of UrbanShift. So maybe we can go to the next slide. So first of all, great, we have the annual report, but what actually has happened? Can you share? And let me put it a little bit into context. And Ruth already referred to it, that this is not GEF. GEF has 3 cycles already, right? So we're at GEF 7, but GEF 8 is coming, and we had GEF 6. And in total, this program really elevated the role of cities and driven change and solutions in 93 cities across 33 countries. And I think one of the powerful things, and I think not many here in the webinar are aware, that this is the biggest grant-making cities program in the world. And it has been able to, and that's very generous, has been very generous of the Jeff. It's been able to invest 436 million into the city space. But the amazing thing of this is that it is leveraged an additional almost 6 billion investment to these projects. And I think that says something about not only that it leveraged $1 invested by the Jeff by 13.5, but it says something about the integrated nature of Jeff. So from the start, and I was there also when we kicked off Ruth 5 years ago, integrated planning, bringing sectors and different levels of government together to get most out of $1 of investment to really make the biggest possible change. That has been where we have been after with all the organizations working together with the cities. Maybe we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so let's have a look at what has happened in 2024, 2025. So we had around 35 capacity building sessions and advocacy events, and engaged almost 3,000 urban actors this year alone. It's also, as you said, Ruth, gender has been very much central to gender and equity has been very much central to this program, and 46% of the participants were women. So that's a great achievement. I think without going through the whole year, I think two highlights definitely for me were the UrbanShift Africa Forum held in Nairobi in February, an enormous event, very powerful, very timely, and the China City Academy held in Chengdu in July. Maybe we can go to the next slide. For us, this annual report, which is the last report after 5 years of UrbanShift, also offers us to reflect and to look back at what we have achieved in 5 years. And you already heard some of those numbers, and maybe you can click once and twice because I want to highlight a few of them. And maybe one more click. We supported more than 7,500 people in more than 90 capacity building events. We had almost 6,000 people completing the UrbanShift 8 online courses. You mentioned them, Ruth, and they're still available. So please, everyone, share this and use it. It's on climate action planning, access to climate finance, nature, and nature-based solutions. We supported and we influenced 13 new resolutions and commitments that really were on climate action, practical and scaled approaches in cities. We engaged, I think, more than 35 additional cities from beyond the UrbanShift network in nearly 30 global and regional advocacy events, such as the World Wind Forum, the UN Environment Assembly meetings, but also the climate and the biodiversity calls. And last but not least, we supported 5 projects in 4 cities to build their maturity to access private and public finance for city projects. Maybe we can go to the next slide. As I already said, gender equity was very much central in our approach, and we worked with amazing leaders, and we looked at gender equity in 2 ways, elevating the role of women's voices in urban leadership and ensuring that our work helps to deliver equitable outcomes in cities for women. And this year we interviewed 3 absolute superstars, and we hear from Sibele later in this webinar from Florianópolis, but also Maria Jose from Argentina and Nisha from Chennai. They share in-depth account of their experiences in leading their projects and the successes they have enjoyed and the challenges that they have embarked on. And it's really nice. So the annual report showcases the 3 champions and their experiences in UrbanShift. So maybe we can go to the next slide. What is very important when you drive a project like this is that you understand what the actual impact is that you're achieving. So you need a baseline. So we continue to support cities with access to the baseline geospatial data And we did that also in a very practical way. For example, through our UrbanShift laboratories in India and Indonesia earlier this year. But we also promoted broader access to data. So we launched the online and open source tool called City Metrics. So please, everyone, use it, look at it. It has data available for over 60 cities worldwide, including all 23 UrbanShift cities. And that's data to combine and to look at and to compare on flooding, on heat, air quality, amongst others. So very powerful data accessible now for 60 cities and growing. Maybe we can go to the next slide. Let's now move to the report's monitoring evaluation section, and that includes both quantitative and qualitative data. We thought it is very important not only to focus on indicators, but also to understand what are the stories and the actual impact stories behind the indicators and that illustrate the indicators. So maybe next slide. For example, it is three great examples of, for example, Marrakesh in Morocco, where we've been a part and parcel of the Communal Action Plan 2022-2027, was developed and adopted by the City Council in 2023. Or in Brazil, the Green and Resilient Cities Program, which mobilized, and again, this is leverage, which mobilized 25 million to fund 10 projects around nature-based solutions. Another example, Pune in India, where we've been involved in a dedicated urban transport fund that pools resources and invested in low carbon transport infrastructure. If you want to know more about these stories, please download the annual report because they've been beautifully illustrated with a lot of people discussing how they actually experienced and used their capacity to impact the projects and beyond the projects. Next, please. Yes, and of course, I every time say download. So where to find it? Have a look here. The QR code is here. Please have a look at the report, and you see all the stories. I think just to wrap up, I think three big takeaways. As I said, and as Ruth said, and Sharon, integration, an integrated approach is absolutely key for better impact, right? You cannot work in silos, and you cannot drive a single sectoral project. If you put equity at the center, what does it mean if you intervene or invest in a transport project? So integration leads to impactful outcomes. That's what we have learned. Second, multi-level collaboration is key. How does the money flow from national to local? How do you set the policy? How do you create the enabling environment? And Ruth already mentioned CHAMP, the Coalition for High Ambition Multi-Level Partnerships. It was an absolutely high note and a very important door opener at COP30 in Brazil. And it's also very interesting that in UrbanShift, Brazil, Rwanda, Morocco, and Sierra Leone were all signatories and actively involved in CHAMP as a movement, as an initiative. Last but not least, cities don't want to learn from me, don't want to learn from you, Ruth. Cities want to learn from each other. And I think what UrbanShift has done very well is this peer-to-peer learning, where cities learn from other cities. And one example, and I can mention many, but one example is, for example, that the city of Freetown and the Ministry of Finance from Sierra Leone visited Medellin to look at the cable car system, that creates transport opportunities for the vulnerable populations living in the informal settlements. And at this moment, actually, Freetown is at the feasibility stage of doing a similar thing in Sierra Leone, in Freetown. So thanks to the partners, thanks to you all for listening. Please look at the report. It was an absolute joy. And we'll continue the great work together in this or different configurations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Roy, for this excellent overview. It makes me really proud listening to all the work that has been done for the past 5 years, and also a bit nostalgic. So I would like to invite representatives of our other two core UrbanShift partners, Andrea Fernandez, Managing Director of Climate Finance, Knowledge and Partnerships of C40 Cities, and Marijke van Staden, Director of Business Development and the Carbon Climate Center of ICLE, Local Governments for Sustainability, to share their reflections from their own areas of leadership.
Thank you.
Andrea,
Thanks so much. And really great, I think, setup by Roque to talk about finance in particular, which has been a really major.
Andrea, we don't hear you. I don't know if it's just me.
I don't know.
Maybe we start with Maraiki.
Maraiki, sure.
Yeah, we cannot hear you.
Okay.
You're muted. No, you are not, but we could not hear.
Yeah.
I'll rejoin.
So while we fix that, right?
Yeah, while we fix that, let's start with thoughts from Maraiki.
Thank you very much. Yep, as Andrea sorts out her sound issues, I'm happy to share just high level reflections. Roger mentioned all these wonderful numbers, and I think it's important to understand that behind the numbers, there's an incredible amount of work being done by the whole amazing team. And I do want to give a shout out to the team from UNEP, from WRI, C40 and ICLA. I think we've been doing an amazing job, and sometimes in pretty difficult conditions, considering we started the whole project during COVID. And I think we've picked up tremendously, and you can see from the impact numbers, we've really moved from that commitment space and also getting more commitments to city planning, to moving towards implementation. And bottom line, implementation has to accelerate. And we've been doing this in very interesting ways. So let's look a little bit at the multi-level governance conversation. So we've organized in all 9 countries what we call national local dialogues. And these are essentially closed doors conversations around difficult topics, or you can make it open door and invite your businesses, your NGOs to be part of that. But these conversations between national and local level really help to unpack challenges that have been identified, and in each country, the local governments themselves have identified the challenges. This could be linked to resilience challenges, biodiversity. The need for access to finance has popped up actually in most countries. And this has been a very exciting conversation that was mostly facilitated by ICLA experts to get to a point where you could identify for your own country a roadmap on how you wish to improve multi-level governance, meaning how to establish or strengthen coordination mechanisms, communication mechanisms, and making sure that you go into listening mode when your peers are speaking. And we have a fantastic report. You can also find the link here if you use the QR code, multi-level governance for integrated urban planning. And we do look at it strongly from a climate lens, because that's a challenging situation for all our local governments as well as national level. And then maybe let's look at 1 or 2 other angles. Local governments cannot do this alone, so they do need to go into local partnerships and national partnerships, of course. So our city business accelerators have been quite interesting. The one that I attended in Johannesburg was interesting because we got 8 different companies, large companies, tiny, small startup companies, talking about food, composting, sustainable waste management, how to deal with plastic waste, reusing, recycling, upscaling, repurposing, everything you can possibly do. And linked to that conversation, we hope that those projects will be taken forward by the city government. And of course, we've got our training programs also on circular development or on innovative finance, and 6 more topics. So really worth a look to make use of those resources as we've developed them for you, for all of you. And please bring them into your toolkits and your work into the future. And last but not least, we need to get projects to finance. So ICLA and C40 have been working a lot on the finance topic. And I think it's important to understand that local urban projects are complex by nature. So we really need to also have our financial institutions on board to understand with us how to get to pre-feasibility stage, feasibility stage, and then actually investment. We're keen on investment, and the time frame that is allowed for this space is shrinking because we're facing accelerated climate action. So we have to be more clever, more innovative, and less bureaucratic in our own approaches. And that's again a call on the finance institutions to work with us in GEF 8, in GEF 9, to help us think through these systems and make them more accessible, that finance can flow for local infrastructure projects. Thank you so much, and back to you, Sharon.
Thank you, Maraiki. I hope Shuman was listening to you talking about this finance space. Andrea, we
Yes.
would like to hear you. You're there. Okay.
You can hear me okay. Okay.
Yes,
Super.
we can hear you.
Great. So Marika started us off on this conversation around finance challenges that cities have, and I think one of the things that we've been trying to do on the program is how to work to support cities in building their capacity in helping them understand what does it mean to have a investable or bankable project, but also tackling some of the more systemic issues in the policy environment and the kind of constraints that cities have. So I'll highlight a few elements of within the finance work that we've been doing over the last 5 years. So first is investor roundtables, which I think were referred to in the summary diagram before. So these are opportunities for cities to present projects. We work with them over several months to develop concept notes that can be presented to development banks and private investors, and it's a chance for those cities to really hear directly from those banks and investors the feedback on their projects, whether they've understood, whether they've scoped the project in a way that the banks would prefer, whether if they've thought about the policy, regulatory environment, if the project is of the right ticket size in order to attract investment. So that it's very real feedback, and some of these conversations then happen offline, out of the room, and it's a really great way for cities to be able to also get their products into the pipeline of some of these institutions, but very valuable learning for the city. So we've been having investor roundtables focus on transportation in New Delhi, adaptation in Brazil. We did a couple of those, energy in Africa, and I think a really great way, again, to showcase the kind of pipeline, the interests of cities, but also having them get that real feedback. A lot of our mayors, as Marika pointed to, really consider finance one of their biggest challenges and are really on the global stages calling for access to finance. And one of the things we decided to do was give them a bit of a roadmap. We call this the Sustainable Finance Action and Advocacy Roadmap. It's a publication and an online publication as well, with scrolly telling where cities can learn about first what they can do, what steps they can do to prioritize actions that can happen at the city level to demonstrate they are serious and committed to climate action, but also how they can engage with national government, regional, global stakeholders, financial institutions, private investors, global climate funds. So definitely look out for that if you haven't seen it. It's a really great way to support cities in, getting, walking the talk, getting their own house in order to then also really call for that finance. As a continuation of that work, we'll be launching early next year the Clean Investment Toolkit, which is how cities can look at sustainable investment in terms of both what's sitting on their balance sheets, their own assets, in terms of creating new investment vehicles, but also engaging other key stakeholders such as pension funds on really driving clean investment and local reinvestment. And finally, I want to highlight a really important advocacy action that we took in Nairobi at the UrbanShift Forum held earlier this year. And this is an open letter to African ministers of finance by mayors and governors in the region. Over 40, I think 44 mayors and governors signed this letter. And we did it really because this is a region that has been most affected by some of the policy constraints where mayors are ambitious, they want to take action, but they've got a lot of limitations on whether they can take on debt, on how they can build their revenue, how they can raise finance. So we did this letter to really call on ministers of finance to mainstream urban climate priorities into national budgets, to strengthen municipal finance frameworks, and to help those cities unlock private and sustainable finance. And over the next quarter, we'll be continuing to engage those institutions and really seeing what are they open to discussing with cities? What are some of those options on the table? And have had already very positive feedback from the South African National Treasury. So this is just a way that we've been thinking about, it's not just about building the capacity in cities, but it's also looking at how can we address some of these systemic issues, these challenges in the finance system that really wasn't built for cities. So how can UrbanShift really provide that support? I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea. And thank you, Andrea and Mareike, for your insightful reflections. UrbanShift has a two-pillar approach, combining the global platform as well as local projects. And this has, let me now turn to the second pillar, which has a lot of demonstrated success and on-the-ground results. I'm pleased to welcome Pablo Lasso, Director for Urban Development at WRI, to lead the conversation with our network of national and local representatives in Brazil. Over to you, Pablo.
Thank you, Sharon. Welcome, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here, having this space to talk about real impact on the ground. This has been the year of Brazil, and I'm extremely, extremely happy that this conversation that we're about to have with two great panelists and almost friends now, after 5 years working together, is going to provide you with an insight of what has happened and has been able to shape cities with the influence of UrbanShift. So I'm here with two people from two institutions and cities in Brazil, Cibele Asman, which is the innovation manager for the city of Florianópolis, the city council, and with Camille Martins, which is the technical coordinator for the City Nova 2 project from the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation from the government of Brazil. And I want to start first with Cibele. I'm going now to shift to Portuguese. So if you need to adjust your translation, please use the bottom of your screen so you can understand this conversation. Cibele, Florianópolis se deu no UrbanShift Lab em 2023. Foi workshop de 2 dias que reuniu mais de 60 participantes de 3 diferentes regiões metropolitanas, representando mais de 15 cidades também nessa sala. O workshop teve como foco a exploração dos dados do território, análise dos principais riscos climáticos e do desenvolvimento regional. Cibele, você poderia explicar como esse LAV e de forma mais ampla o UrbanShift com o programa complementaram os esforços já existentes de governança e financiamento de Florianópolis para ampliar a infraestrutura urbana verde? Cibele.
Enlarge the urban structure.
Boa tarde, tudo bem? Bom dia, boa tarde. A gente tem trabalhado em conjunto com o UrbanShift durante esses anos todos a partir do projeto City Nova já 7 e tem sido muito importante para a melhoria da capacidade institucional do município em se preparar para implementar novos projetos e trazer novas tecnologias e conhecimento em relação ao desenvolvimento de uma cidade mais resiliente e mais verde e mais sustentável. Então, várias das ações que foram feitas pelo UrbanShift
Many actions were applied, so we were able to understand what's happening in other places in the world and the ability to develop projects that are financeable and to have access to resources to do it in our city. I have examples how we apply these knowledges in our projects and what we have been able to achieve.
Eu posso citar alguns deles? Queres que eu cite alguns deles? Eu posso citar aqui. Tá. Dentro do próprio plano diretor que a gente fez uma revisão há uns 2 anos atrás, a gente incluiu a possibilidade de se trabalhar com as centralidades urbanas, tentando trazer cidades mais locais da cidade, que sejam mais concisos, mais densos e que tenham mais vida urbana nesses locais, com uma melhor acessibilidade, a questão da mobilidade ativa sendo trabalhada, usos mistos, né, e fachadas ativas, e áreas de vegetação e melhor áreas mais acessíveis à escala urbana, né? Além disso, a gente agora conquistou há pouco tempo, junto ao WRI, um dos projetos bem interessantes, que é o Corredores Verdes na região continental de Florianópolis, que foi um trabalho que veio justamente lá da academia que a gente teve em Buenos Aires, né, sobre bairros verdes resilientes e cidades, né, e bairros prósperos, onde a gente está justamente desenvolvendo para uma região
We
da
are
cidade onde
developing for a certain
99,5%
part
da
of the
área é
city where
urbanizada, novos corredores e
95%
áreas
of
verdes
the
com
city is
conexões, trazendo
urbanized,
acessibilidade para uma
creating
região onde a
green
gente tem
belts, green
um nível de
corridors,
mobilidade muito forte,
and
onde
where we
150
have
mil
a
carros
lot of
passam todos os
mobility.
dias, entrando
Over
e saindo da nossa ilha,
250,000
né, que é parte da
vehicles
nossa
go through
instituição, é uma
every
ilha.
day.
Além de outros projetos que
And
nós
we are an
estamos
island. So
preparando para
besides this, we
implementar
are
na cidade.
preparing projects
Obrigado,
to
Cibele. É muito
implement in the
interessante.
city.
Parabéns por todo o
Very
trabalho que está sendo
interesting,
feito em
all the work
Florianópolis.
that is being done in your city.
Camille, os projetos de City Nova
Camille,
1 e 2, liderados
where
pelo
the
Ministério,
projects of City
apoiam o país
Nova
com
1 and
35
2
milhões de recursos do
with
GEF.
the
E
support
vocês
of 35
mobilizaram já
million
mais
in
de
resource
380
from
milhões em
GEF. And
cofinanciamentos.
you
O
have
Ministério
taken
tem sido um
part of
parceiro
it.
central
The
para viabilizar o
ministry is
projeto.
a core
Como você acha que o
partner.
UrbanShift
How
contribuiu
do
para
you
fortalecer a
think
governança
UrbanShift has
multinível no
contributed
Brasil,
to strengthen
especialmente no
the
fomento à
governance,
colaboração entre atores de níveis
especially to
nacionais,
foster
estaduais e
these
municipais?
players in
Por
all
favor.
three levels
Bom
of
dia, Pablo. Bom dia,
government?
Cibele. Bom dia a todos e
Good
todas. Obrigada pela
morning,
oportunidade de participar do
everyone. Thank you
webinar.
for the
Bom, o
opportunity
Urban
to be
Shift ele
here.
contribui de várias formas
Urban
para a questão
Shift
de
has
fortalecimento da governança
contributed in
multinível,
different ways.
primeiramente em todas as
First
atividades que
of
a gente teve a
all, in
oportunidade de
all
participar,
activities
então,
that we
academias
had
da
the
cidade,
opportunity to
academias de
participate,
financiamento,
the city
intercâmbio de
academies,
experiência,
finance
todas elas envolveram
academies,
atores tanto
all
do governo federal
involving
quanto dos
players
estados e
from
municípios, então a
the
gente teve a oportunidade
federal
de
level
colaborar
as
e
well
pensar
of
junto essas
local
agendas, né, para
and
poder avançar com a
state
questão do
level, so
desenvolvimento
we
urbano
could move
sustentável nos
ahead
municípios
for
brasileiros.
sustainable
E eu queria
development
destacar
for
em
the
especial a atividade
municipalities
dos
in
diálogos
Brazil,
nacionais locais, que foram
highlighting
muito
the
importantes.
local
A gente tratou de
national
um desafio muito
conversations.
importante
We
para o
dealt
Brasil, que é a
with a
questão da
very
governança
important
metropolitana
challenge, which
interfederativa.
is the
Então, a gente teve a oportunidade
interfederation
de
urban
reunir por
governance. We
em duas
gather
ocasiões
in
atores,
two
né, dos três
occasions
níveis, das três
players
esferas de
from the
governo,
three
para tratar
levels
dessa
of
temática
government
e
to
pensar um roteiro de
talk
como
about this
avançar ao longo dos
topic
próximos
and
anos,
to think
com o apoio do
about the
projeto City Nova
roadmap
2
to
nessa
develop for
agenda. Então, agora, depois
the
dessas atividades,
following
a gente tem muita
years. So
clareza de como dar
after
seguimento
this
nessa
event, we
agenda e
have
desenhar como
this
é que vai
in a
ser o
more
avanço
clear
ao longo dos próximos
understanding
anos, inclusive
to
trazendo
put in
temáticas muito importantes
practice
para
for the
dentro da questão da
following
governança metropolitana,
years.
como
These
tratar, por exemplo, a
practices
questão
and
do planejamento
how to deal
climático como uma
the
função pública
climate
de interesse comum,
planning
então
as
pensado
something
conjuntamente
that
entre os
is
municípios
in
das três
within
regiões
the public
metropolitanas, governo do estado,
interest
enfim. A gente vai
scope
estar trazendo para
for the
dentro dessa
welfare
agenda essas
of
diferentes
every
temáticas que foram
human
tratadas nas
being
atividades do
in
Urban
the
Shift.
city. And that's what we
Obrigado,
have
Camille.
been
Vou ficar
doing.
com você,
Thank you,
porque
Camille.
a Roquier falou de que no relatório anual ele
Well,
tem essa
we
questão do
have
planejamento
heard that
sensível ao
there
gênero
is
como um elemento chave do Urban
issue
Shift.
of
Eu gostaria, se
gender
você pode explicar
sensitive
como isso
planning.
influenciou
How
o desenho e
is this
implementação do
has
projeto em
influenced
Florianópolis, por
the
exemplo.
project
Poderá
in
dar uns
Florianópolis?
exemplos.
Please give us some
A pergunta seria para
examples.
mim ou para a Cibele?
Para a
Who is
Cibele.
this question for? Cibele.
Então, nós temos trabalhado muito a questão
We
do
have
gênero,
been
ela é muito
working
importante, na
the
verdade,
gender
né? A gente entende
issue for
que
us. We understand
a cidade, a
the
sensibilidade
city
que
and
a
its
mulher principalmente tem
sensitivity
quando olha para o
in
espaço
terms
urbano,
of the
ela consegue
role of the
atrair a
woman who
questão
look into
deixar
the
a questão
urban
do cuidado
space,
com a
takes into
família, os
account the
idosos, o olhar para
care
as
with the
crianças, né?
family, the
Então,
elderly, the
ter um olhar
children,
para a comunidade,
well,
para a questão do meio
also
ambiente,
encompassing the
ter isso tudo
community as a
amparado dentro
whole,
dos projetos, né? Então, ter um
supported
projeto que
within
seja mais
our
amplo e
project,
que atenda a
a
todas as nuances
broader
da
project,
sociedade, e é isso que a gente
meeting
está
all the
tentando
needs
trazer para
of
o
the
desenho dos projetos que estão
society.
sendo
That's
elaborados na
what we
cidade,
are
tanto o do
trying
piloto de
to
baixa
bring
emissão, que está
in,
sendo trabalhado com o
as
City
well as
Nova,
the low emission
como também no
pilot
de Ilhas de
program,
Calor, que
and
está
also
trabalhando a questão das áreas
the
verdes
heat
e
islands
resilientes, né? Então,
that
um olhar sempre que
deals
seja
with
mais amplo
the
e que a gente entenda
resilient
que possa amparar
and
todos
the
os nuances da
sustainable
sociedade e que as
sectors
pessoas se
of the
sintam
city. This
felizes de
takes
estar
into
naqueles
account
espaços para que
that
usem os espaços
all
públicos e que
parts
eles
of
sejam
the
espaços
civil
seguros,
of
né, e agradáveis
society to provide safe and pleasant spaces for each and everyone. Thank you, Cibele.
com Camila agora. O
For
relatório State of
Camila,
Finance for Nature and Cities em inglês
the
aponta que o setor
state
privado precisa responder aproximadamente
finance for nature
87% do
and
financiamento total
cities
necessário
report
para soluções baseadas na natureza
tackles
nas cidades
the
até
budget
2030.
for
Uma vez que os
cities up to
orçamentos públicos por si só
2030,
não são
as
suficientes
the
para atender a
public
escala de investimento demandada,
investments are
os
not
projetos de
being
City Nova 1 e
sufficient.
2, liderados por
The
o
City
Ministério,
Nova 1 and
apoiam o
2
país com 35
projects,
milhões em recursos GEF, mobilizando a quantidade que
which is
já
part of
falei antes.
GEF
Como
project
explicar como
program. How
você
can you
pode
explain
entender a contribuição do UrbanShift para essa construção da
the
ponte
urban
entre o
shift
setor público e o setor privado para
contribution
esse
for the
financiamento,
creation
Camila?
of this bridge between
Obrigada pela
private and
pergunta.
public
Eu acho que a
sectors?
principal contribuição
Thank you
do
for
programa Urban
the
Shift para essa
question.
agenda
Well, the
foi a
main
realização das academias de
contribution was
financiamento. A gente teve
the
academias de
academies
financiamento com
for
diferentes
finance
temáticas, então a questão da
with
mobilidade
different
elétrica,
topics,
planejamento
electric
climático, também a questão de como
mobility,
estruturar
climate
projetos
planning,
financiáveis.
how to create
Eu acho
structure
que a
for
principal
finance,
atividade de
to
destaque foi a Academia de
receive
Financiamento de
finance
São
for
Paulo, que
projects.
reuniu diferentes
Like
cidades
there was a
brasileiras, não só do
highlight the
projeto City Nova
Academy
2,
for
mas também outras
Finance
cidades
São Paulo,
parceiras
with
do
and
consórcio,
taking into
para que as cidades
consideration the
desenvolvessem propostas de
consortium,
projeto e durante o
so
evento elas
that there
puderam
will
receber,
be the
enfim, uma
development
série
of
de contribuições para
proposals of the
qualificar essas
project,
propostas e
receiving
também
a
tiveram a
lot of
oportunidade de
contribution
apresentá-las para
to
instituições financeiras
qualify the
nacionais e
cities and
internacionais
to
que
be
trouxeram uma
presented
série
to
de feedbacks em relação a
national,
como, enfim,
international
avançar com esses
institutions,
projetos,
and
qualificar esses
within these
projetos e também
academies,
diretrizes de como ajudar a
showing what
financiar essas
would
propostas de
be
projeto trazidas pelos
helpful to
municípios, né?
achieve the
Essa questão do
finance
gap entre a
goal.
necessidade de
The
financiamento e
gap
o acesso a
between the
recursos no
need of
Brasil é um dos
finance
principais
and
desafios do
access
país.
of
O
resources
próprio
in
projeto City Nova
Brazil,
2 tem
it's one
algumas
of the main
atividades pensadas nesse
challenges.
sentido, então,
And
da
we
mesma
have
forma,
had
e trazendo o exemplo do programa
activities
Urban Shift,
within the
nós também
scope,
vamos
and the
trabalhar com
Urban Shift
um
program
acelerador de projetos, então apoiar
encompasses an
regiões metropolitanas
accelerator
brasileiras
of
a desenvolver projetos
projects.
integrados e
So to
submeter a financiamento, e
foster
também vamos
the
apoiar, enfim, instituições
metropolitan
financeiras brasileiras a fortalecer mecanismos de
areas
financiamento para
to have
desenvolvimento urbano
integrated
sustentável, para apoiar a
projects
questão
for
do enfrentamento à
sustainable
mudança
urban
do clima e
development
também a
to
questão da
face
conservação da
climate change
biodiversidade. Então, o
and
programa
biodiversity
vai ter continuidade ao longo
conservation.
das ações do
So
projeto City Nova para
this
essa
will
temática
be
de
a
financiamento.
seamless program with the
Certamente foi
program of
sucesso, Camille, como
finance.
já
Yes,
conversou
it
a
really was
Andrea,
very
essa
successful, as
capacidade para
Andrea
generar modelos de
mentioned, the
financiamento, modelagens de
capacity to
financiamento para o setor
generate
público e privado é
funding,
chave para avançar na
finance
agenda
within the
climática.
public and private
E a última
sectors.
pergunta para vocês,
The
para as duas,
final question
é a
for
seguinte:
both of
olhando para o
you
futuro,
is
qual é a maior oportunidade para as
think
cidades
about the
brasileiras e para
future.
as cidades
What
ao redor
is
do
the
mundo? Eu
best
gostaria de ampliar, sair
opportunity
um pouquinho
for
fora
the
do Brasil,
Brazilian cities,
para
but
liderar um
beyond
desenvolvimento urbano
for the
verde e
world,
resiliente?
to
Se
create
Sibeli,
this
você pode
resilient
responder
and
primeiro, logo passar
green
para a Camille.
city? Can you start, Sibeli?
Eu acho que nós estamos com depois da
Uh,
COP também aqui acontecendo no
After the
Brasil, nós temos grandes
COP, we
oportunidades
have
de
a
trabalhar
lot of
com a
opportunities
mudança
to
das cidades, na
work
verdade, né?
with the
Mudando o
changes
mindset,
in
mudando a
within the
cultura de como
cities,
desenvolver as
changing
cidades.
the
E a
mindset
partir de
on
tudo que
how
a
to
gente teve a
develop cities,
oportunidade
and
de
from
participar dentro
everything
da toda a
that we have
plataforma do UrbanShift, os vários
participated
cursos
on
comentados pela
the
Camille,
in the
e do quanto a gente ainda
context
tem
of
pela
the
frente
Urban Shift
agora, vamos ter o plano de ação
platform,
climática da região
we'll
metropolitana, que a gente
have
pode
a lot
trabalhar.
of
Então, nós
projects
temos
on climate
capacitação e condições de poder
metropolitan
promover um desenvolvimento
protection.
urbano
We are able
diferenciado, não
to
só
develop
no Brasil, né, em
to
Florianópolis,
have the
nas outras
urban
cidades que a gente sabe
development in
que
a
tivemos sempre
differentiated
um olhar,
way,
talvez, muito
always
mais em
putting
relação à questão do
an
desenvolvimento
understanding in
baseado no
terms
carro,
of
baseado nas
development
questões de infraestrutura
based
cinza,
on
e tentar transformar essas
transportation
cidades hoje, porque nós temos
and
que fazer
change the
reformas,
cities
construir cidades com outro olhar, mas também
to
reformar as cidades que
build
nós temos
cities
hoje
with a
em
new
grande parte do
perspective,
mundo com
but
um olhar mais humano, né, e mais sustentável e mais
renovate
verde. Eu
the
acho que
cities
essa é a grande
in a more
oportunidade que nós temos,
sustainable
né, de
and
mudar
green way.
a
This
maneira como a gente faz
opportunity
isso
to
até hoje e
change
começar a
the
construir novas
way we
cidades
have been doing
no
this up
Brasil e fora do
today,
Brasil.
and therefore in Brazil and in
Obrigado,
the
Sibeli.
world.
Camille?
Thank you, Cibele. What
Eu
about
concordo
you,
com tudo que a
Camille?
Cibele
I
trouxe, colocou
agree
aqui.
with
Eu acho
everything
que
Cibele
a
said.
melhor forma da gente tratar
The
essa
best
questão é olhar para
way
o desafio
to
das
deal
cidades, em
with
especial as
this
cidades
is to
brasileiras, que
tackle
desenvolveram
the
de forma muito
challenges
acelerada e muito desordenada,
within the
da gente
Brazilian
transformar
cities
esse grande
that
desafio numa
grew in
alavanca
a
para pensar essa
very
questão do
fast
desenvolvimento
way, in
verde e
an
resiliente.
unorganized
O
way,
Brasil tem uma
create
oportunidade muito grande
resilience.
por
We have
ter,
now
bom, a
this
gente tem uma escala
opportunity in
continental e isso é um
Brazil,
desafio muito
although we
complexo,
have
né,
this
de como é que a gente avança na
continental
questão da agenda urbana, mas é também uma
country,
oportunidade da
which
gente
is a
replicar e da gente
challenge, but
ajustar
it's
diferentes
an
soluções
opportunity to
sustentáveis
adjust
para, enfim, diferentes
sustainable
biomas, diferentes cidades,
solutions
e
for
ser um
different
exemplo para
cities
inspirar
and
outras cidades,
biomas,
tanto no
and
Brasil
to be an
quanto no mundo.
example to inspire other cities
Obrigado,
in
Camille.
Brazil and
Bom,
in the
parabéns para os
world.
dois. Realmente o trabalho
Congratulations to both of
feito nos
you, the
labs, na
work
integração de
done in the
planejamento, trabalho
labs
muito
and the
individual, foi
planning
todo um sucesso nos últimos 5 anos. E vou
in
passar a
the
palavra para a
last
Sharon
5 years
para
were
continuar com a seguinte
amazing.
parte do
Now I'll
seminário.
pass the floor
Obrigado.
to Sharon.
Bom dia.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Sharon, over to
Thank
you.
you, Pablo, and thank you, Cibele and Camila, for bringing the Urban Shift story to life from the perspective on the ground. As the JEF7 activities of the Urban Shift Global Platform are wrapping up, it is not only a moment for reflection, but it's also a call to action. It is an opportunity for cities to carry forward the leadership, partnerships, and momentum generated over the past 5 years. So it was so refreshing to hear from you both. We also look forward to working closely with our partner, the World Bank, in the next cycle of the JEF Sustainable Cities Integrated Program. And with that, I'm very pleased to invite Shuman Wang, Senior Urban Specialist and Program Manager of the Global Platform for Sustainable Cities, to share her insights on the next steps under JEF8. Over to you, Shuman.
Thank you, Sharon. And first of all, congratulations to the Urban Shift team and excellent work. Really very well done, very impressive. The last 5 years, the team has done such a phenomenal job to translate knowledge into implementation, sharing the knowledge and connecting cities. So I know that this maybe comes to the end of the Urban Shift, but it's really not really come to end, because I would think, I feel our local would say the same thing, that we are very much integrated. We may Urban Shift or the Global Platform for Sustainable Cities, we may serve different GF cycles. But in the end, we are really very much one integrated program, because we carry exactly the same mission, that's connecting cities, knowledge sharing, and translating knowledge into project implementation and investment. So that vision will continue. And of course, that as we all know, UNEP as well as WI, C40, and eClear will continue to be part of the team. So I would think that there may be different phases, but we are one big global program with a shared vision. So that's really the message I like to convey. So I know we are running out of time, but I do like also share with you a little bit just probably 2 slides about what we do and the planning. And it's important is that the GF7 cities, in fact, I'm the task team leader for China project, so I know very well that many of the projects probably just the first 2 years, some even earlier. And you are part of this global GF network and this knowledge sharing, so it's part of the program. So I'd like to use this opportunity to share with you some of the activities we intend to do. So if the UNEP colleague can share this slide. Essentially, I guess the guidance. Yeah. So if you go to the next slide, so you will see that the focus of the global platform is very much similar to what Urban Shift has done based on the GF7. It's focused on nature. And we have done a lot of work on nature, because I also know like China, Indonesia projects, and also a number of other projects, nature really a very important part of the project activities, and that will continue to be a very important part under the overall the planning and activities. And decarbonized built environment, we have also heard from Brazil and others that's also carrying out the low carbon strategy, as well as they integrate the climate mitigation into decarbonized built environment. And the third part is circular economy. And many of you also are doing solid waste management, wastewater treatment, and how we can actually build a more circular economy. And one of the important subjects is about food waste. How to manage food waste, and we'll be very happy to see the good practice and how they fit into some of the activities. And you see that there are also land use planning, inclusiveness, gender, and private sector engagement. So that's also be part of the program. I would think that this is not really fundamentally different from what the GF7 has done and will be doing. The next one. So our overall, the global platforms activities have if you can go to the next slide, have the number of dimensions. One, of course, that you will see that each the three pillars, we are establishing a thematic network. And we will talk a bit about urban nature network and how we bring different experts, different disciplines together to help build project design and implementation. And also continue with a lot of knowledge products. And again, we will draw the expertise and also project experience from GF7, GF8, and also GF6 as well to incorporate into knowledge products. And overall, we have a number of the training and academies. And so there will be global meetings. We plan to do 3 in this GF8 project cycle, starting 2026, 2028, and then 2030. And we will invite all of you to be part of it. And we also do this regional city academy, so twice every year. And again, you will be part of this regional city academy, and very much want you to share the experience, the project experience under GF7 with GF8 and potentially the future with GF9 participating cities. So, as I mentioned, that it's a very strong partnership network. And not only we have the organizations here, as well as we also reach out other MDBs so that we can build this networks and partnership that serve you better, serve all the cities better. Next one. And so this is just to give you what we will do 2026. The newsletters we'll do every 2 months and issue newsletters. We have this already established Urban Nature Network, and we do actually every 2 months. There will be a new host sharing different activities and a lot of webinars as well. As I mentioned, the Regional City Academy, we are thinking about May and June, and probably you would in the Central Asia or Europe that we will, once we have the location confirmed, we will share with you the information. And that's mentioned a global meeting, and very likely probably the first week of the November, we are thinking about Nairobi, Kenya, but certainly that we're once again share with you more information. For this year, we were at least probably more, but at least for the time being, we will produce 2 knowledge products. One is on green urban infrastructure and very much under the nature part, and also we're also working on resilient streets. So I think probably urban food waste will be part of it as well for this year. So at least the idea is that we produce those knowledge products and drawing the input from our participating cities as well as a global good practice. I will stop here and very much look forward to working with all of you, not only our partners as well as the cities. And one, if you go to the last slide, one important is that if you like to be part of this information sharing network, is actually please feel free to share with us your contact information. You can drop us an email so that we can incorporate you into our the network, so that you will receive information directly. At the same time, we have already reached out to some of the implementing entities for each country, so to make sure that the work will continue. So I stop here and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Shuman. We are part of a big story indeed, all together. The story for me started way before Jeff 6 in 2014 when Jeff started the Sustainable Cities Impact Program. Ruth was there as well. So looking ahead, including at the Jeff 8 and even the Jeff 9 cycles, we are committed to ensuring that UrbanShift's impact continues to inspire and empower cities to lead the way towards a resilient, inclusive, and zero carbon future. Allow me now to give the floor to Alok Barnwal, thematic lead on urban and infrastructure of the Global Environment Facility, to share his reflections and thoughts on the path forward. Alok, over to you.
Thank you, Sharon. It's a real pleasure to join you all to celebrate 5 years of UrbanShift and also launch of this year's annual report. This year also marks 10 years of the Jeff Sustainable Cities program, since it began in the Jeff 6 cycle, which makes this celebration even more important. So the Jeff 6, as you know, was a pilot program, and it was a very crucial step to embrace integrated approaches to work on urban systems and deliver global environmental benefits for which the Jeff has the mandate. But it was the UrbanShift in Jeff 7 that turned a promising pilot we started in Jeff 6 into a full-scale, impactful program shaping how cities plan, finance, and deliver sustainability. A lot has already been shared. You heard from all the people leading this, including from city representatives. I'd just like to share a few areas which I think where UrbanShift made a very significant contribution. The first is on partnerships that multiplied impact. The partnerships really made the program more than sum of its parts because it exemplified the Jeff's core ethos of partnerships. Cities, national governments, UN agencies, MDBs, city networks, expert institutions, they all worked together, linking UrbanShift to global initiatives like the CHAMP, Generation Restoration Cities led by UNEP, the GAP Fund, CCFLA, Cities for Forest, C40 Financing Facility, TAP of ICLE, and I'm sure the list is even much, much longer. This alignment brought more resources, more expertise, more relevance to city action, showing how a global partnership can co-create urban sustainability solutions that can also sustain. The second is integration that moved from concept to practice. As you all know, what began in Jeff 6 was very complex, and it was not easy to understood, even for the Jeff Secretariat, because we had that experience of investing in focal area projects. But it became really clear and actionable in Jeff 7. UrbanShift helped cities integrate land use planning through various tools, embed nature in urban development, connect environmental benefits to social and economic development. The report very clearly highlights the gender aspects and coordinate child projects with the global platform. So the UrbanShift really showed how this global project went beyond just the knowledge platform to a coordination platform, and not just coordinating within our projects, but also coordinating with other partners. So these were really, quite relevant in terms of creating a distinct identity and practical pathways for this program and to support systems change. And the third is on innovations that were piloted and scaled, the e-learning modules, the online academies, the investor roundtables, which Andrea mentioned, and I attended at the City Summit in Rio. It was so well received. The urban payment for ecosystem services, which were piloted in which have been piloted now in Teresina, probably was the first PES model in a city. Nature-based solutions in Chennai, Chengdu, big cities like this, as well as smaller cities like Kigali and Freetown. There are so many of such innovations, and they are ready to be scaled up. And finally, the advocacy work that was definitely led very well by UNEP with partners WRI, C40, and ICLE. It really elevated cities on the global stage. I think Roger already mentioned this, so I don't need to repeat this very important accomplishment of Urban Shift. Well, having said that, surely more is needed. The environmental degradation issues are still there. Cities are getting stressed with flooding, with heat, waste and pollution are affecting both human and economic health of cities. The financing gap is increasing, and there are many challenges that cities are facing. But the opportunity is there, and we will therefore continue to work with cities and with you all to support and catalyze action. As Shuman mentioned, we have already launched the Jeff 8 program with additional 20 projects and 40 plus cities, which will leverage the foundation built by Urban Shift. You already heard what are the new areas of expansion or new areas of work. But more importantly, it will take a whole of program approach, connecting Jeff 6, Jeff 7, and Jeff 8. We are also in the process of Jeff 9 replenishment, as you may all know, and it includes a proposal to continue investing in the Sustainable Cities program, which provides the potential to add more cities and strengthening the global platform's activities. Leveraging private sector capital, adopting regional approaches at metropolitan and landscape scales for better integration, and integrating nature and climate in core urban functions would be targeted in addition to continuing scaling up solutions of the previous phases. We are also generating lessons from our investments to ensure that good practices are replicated, gaps are filled, and insights that our investments are generating is shared globally. We had 2 excellent workshops this year, one in Paris and one in London, where we exchanged our ideas, our lessons with global actors, and a lot of useful insights are being generated to be shared with global actors, including with the IPCC, which is coming up with a special report on cities. So finally, on behalf of the Jeff, I would like to thank you all for your trust, partnership, leadership, passion, and shared commitment. Thanks a lot to the entire Urban Shift Global Platform team. Yes, the global platform activities are not ending, as Shuman said, it's transitioning. And the child projects of Urban Shift will definitely continue for long and at least a few more years. So the Urban Shift's legacy will continue in the coming years. So thank you so much. And as we move forward, I really look forward to continuing our collaboration with you all. Thank you so much. And back to you, Sharon.
Thank you, Alok. You won't get rid of us that easily. We'll still be around.
I don't want to.
And thank you as well to our panelists and speakers. And last but not least, thank you to everyone who has joined us and to the wonderful team who has been working in the background in the organization of this webinar. I'll close here. We are a little bit over time, so thank you very much for staying on. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.